With all the positive news coming out of the Trump administration right now, traditional news outlets are struggling to keep up. When you think things can't get crazier, it goes off. The View is in deep trouble for ABC now that Karoline Leavitt has sued the show twice. Sunny Hostin is unusually silent, Whoopi is visibly embarrassed, and Joy Behar is enraged. The network and its shows are crumbling under the weight of this second instance of an illegal missile targeting them, not merely a viral fight. Executives are reportedly describing it as a catastrophe that will damage their reputations, sponsors are pulling out, and the team behind The View is hastily convening emergency meetings. How did a single court document rock ABC's media foundation? And what exactly did Karoline say this time? Do your part, subscribe to receive truth bombs that the mainstream avoids, hit the like button to call out media bias, and share this with someone who still thinks The View is just cozy daytime TV. You'll want all the details, but before we get started, please, are you already a member? Wonderful. Things are about to go completely bonkers, so hang on tight. It would be fun to listen to the cassette. The View aired a new episode 72 hours ago. After Whoopi Goldberg's nervous attorney hunting over a $800 million 0-cents case, you'd think the hosts would exercise caution. But it's far from it. There was no hemming and hawing, apologizing, or crafting a clean PR line on the part of the women. Instead, they lost it in front of a live television audience of millions. Once again, they mock Karoline without any regard for propriety or logic. Never one to hold back, Joy Behar immediately insults Trump's Gen Z talking head. The crowd chuckles, and everyone in the room gives a collective nod. Next, Sunny Hostin jumps on the story like a relay, accusing the GOP of orchestrating the case as a publicity stunt. In the midst of all this legal drama, Whoopi, the same Whoopi whose tears in court went viral, smiles, adjusts her spectacles, and says something that sent Karoline's attorneys into a frenzy. She's lucky we let her on the show at all. Cue the smug laughter, confident eye rolls, and cheers. However, they fail to anticipate the impending legal storm. The sass was well received by viewers, producers, and Karoline's legal team, who all saw potential legal leverage in the situation. Instead of merely crossing the line, they dashed straight through it. And all those playful jabs and digs, plus they were illegally explosive, so they weren't just unpleasant. Just hours after receiving the video, Karoline's team began analyzing it, listening to the audio and recording every word to ensure it corresponded with the timelines previously provided to the court. There was a direct path to case number 2 from every frame of that segment. We want to be clear, this had nothing to do with resentment or animosity. Rather, it was about proving that the View hosts maintained the same arrogant, impolite, and careless behavior for which they were being sued. Then rumbling can be heard. The federal court dismissed a second case with lightning speed. It wasn't merely a follow-up, a well-coordinated assault supported by a formidable legal team and abundant evidence implicated the individual in issue. On this occasion, it went beyond mere defamation. It was an open declaration of war. Instead of defending herself, Karoline Leavitt stormed into court blazing. False accusations leveled in an effort to exact revenge are the predominant charge. They chose to escalate the situation by insulting, threatening, and assaulting the people involved, despite the fact that they were already facing legal action. The lawsuit lays out every single detail in excruciating legal detail. Both the irresponsibility and the intent to damage the person's reputation were evident in these remarks. Some of the accusations included spreading fear through the dissemination of false information, seeking vengeance in a legal proceeding, being careless with the truth, ruining a professional reputation, and ruining a person's career. There were no holds. This is not an isolated incident. There is a backstory to it. It was evident from the quote that one media law scholar believes The View would be better off asking Karoline where to send the settlement check or direct deposit instead of going to court, given how weak their case is now. Very bad. But the situation worsens. Media ethicists, attorneys, and a former federal judge all provided opinions to Karoline's legal team. What they were hearing shocked and disbelieved them all. Claiming to be embroiled in a defamation lawsuit, the group criticized The View for its incessant mockery. Word on the street in Hollywood is that Whoopi might be unwittingly acting in her final season, plus ABC has completely collapsed and everything has gone wrong. Warning signs from the legal side, public relations departments in over their heads, and sponsors pulling their funding. Even though they initially considered the first case to be the most severe, it was actually only the tip of the iceberg. Now that the second wave of Karoline has hit, the floods are rising rapidly. Joy Behar's use of numerical ratings for women is impolite. She refers to her as a 10. However, that's completely typical of a 1. 5. That was top notch. Not only are the hallways of ABC extremely busy, they're also on fire. Several employees have expressed their belief that the View studio has become a site of intense emotional conflict. Catch here, it's not Karoline Leavitt who's making things worse. It's the TV hosts who mocked her live on air, and now they're standing in the rubble of their own creation, watching their kingdom crumble from the inside out. The backstage area was completely dismantled in the 48 hours following Karoline's second claim. Nothing was happening and nobody seemed anxious. There was chaos even though they usually keep their cool and carry clipboards. Producers are supposedly irate right now. They weren't upset with Karoline or the solicitors, but with their own on-air personalities. A seasoned director allegedly lost it during the post-show review, slamming a folder and yelling, "This is what happens when no one listens." Employees claimed to have sensed the tension in the room, as if the walls were bracing for impact. To be honest, I don't blame them. There was more than one case now. 2 of them endangered the public's faith in the brand and its ability to generate advertising revenue. Where is the major secret? 2 sources verified the contents of a confidential memo that leaked out. We explicitly asked the panel not to say anything damaging about this case in the paper, which is now the topic of every whispered hallway chat and private Slack message. Those people were deaf. The entire debacle boiled down to that one line. ABC was involved in this mess on purpose. Whoopi grinned her way into a legal quagmire. Joy continued to make jokes. Sunny showed no concern, and they warned them. Currently, ABC is experiencing a crisis. Directors are poring over emails, footage, and transcripts as if they were evidence in a trial. Sponsors aren't showing up, and morale is extremely low on set. Google severance packages, one exhausted worker who preferred to remain anonymous said it plainly. We used to joke about lawsuits. A similar dread is not a delusion. Insiders at ABC say the network has halted development of new segments, frozen internal budgets, and permanently postponed a major advertising push for The View. There is safety in it. Added twice as many security guards to the area surrounding the studio, not in response to any actual threats, but simply to accommodate the overwhelming response. Many calls to the studio office from individuals wishing to terminate the employees, angry letters, and protest tweets. All of The View's previous sponsors are the same folks. They are emerging now. Someone said it best. This show used to be about telling the truth. Now it's about putting down anyone who doesn't agree. More and more people are signing petitions demanding that Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin resign. The board of directors at ABC is allegedly reviewing star contracts, which is a disastrous decision for any media organization. No word from her yet, Karoline. Twitter and a press tour are out of the question for you. Quietness is her worst enemy in the media war, and she is choosing it. At this very moment, her silence is more significant than any news item. Reason being, in this day and age, subtlety speaks volumes. As the View's fortunes plummet in real time, Karoline Leavitt observes from a distance, keeping calm. It appears as though she is just at the start. For a long time, mainstream networks were covering up news stories that didn't support their agenda. They pretended not to know anything for a long time, but not this time. The magnitude, visibility, and potential harm of the legal dispute involving Karoline Leavitt and The View make it impossible to disregard. This is unique because of that. This has nothing to do with a celebrity. Rather, it concerns two federal lawsuits filed against the same program within a few weeks of one another. Daytime television, journalistic ethics, and the boundaries of live commentary are all being rocked by the subsequent anarchy. Some networks are even obligated to air it, even though they typically do not support The View or give conservatives much airtime. Why? The facts speak for themselves. Reason being, the reaction is continuous. Why? Because this particular one has gone viral online, and now with little choice but to participate, traditional media outlets are being pulled into the discussion. News outlets such as the New York Times, CNN, and MSNBC are now rushing to gather additional details. In an effort to get ahead of a story they can't contain, they are clandestinely contacting media attorneys and specialists. More than just an issue this is, the future of free speech, the potential abuse of the media, and the brink of slander law are all explored in this thought-provoking piece set in an eternally heated world. Rarely does a single individual have two cases and a single show. However, its significance lies in the deliberate escalation. While the first case was ongoing, Karoline filed a second lawsuit following public defamation. It's illegal as well as courageous. Legal experts in the field of media law have speculated that this case may establish new criteria for all forms of talk shows. Anyone with a microphone and an audience could feel the effects, including influencers, YouTubers, Twitch players, and podcasters. The standard for what constitutes irresponsible disregard for truth in the digital era has been significantly lowered if Karoline is victorious. Meanwhile, Twitter is a battleground. For the past 3 days running, discussions about politics have revolved around the truth. Users of the video sharing app TikTok are reposting old episodes of View and combining them with real-life court proceedings, featuring Sunny, Joy, and Whoopi. Members of the legal, PR, and political spheres are gathering together on YouTube to watch group streams in which they dissect legal documents word for word. The shift is this: left-leaning groups are beginning to disband. A famous MSNBC commentator's post this week that read, "Karoline may be controversial, but she's calling out a media problem we've ignored for too long when popular." Progressive media are known to have this analyst's backing. Publicly, there has been an avalanche of awkward questions, along with tens of thousands of likes and shares. There's no getting around the obvious problem. There has been a media bubble around The View and similar shows for a long time. Amidst applause, polished interviews, and positive press, they have unleashed vicious personal attacks, political slurs, and foul language. The folks who work behind the mics are finally getting their due, though, because Karoline Leavitt recently burst through that bubble. This case involves more than just Karoline being sued. It concerns the ethics of the press. There's a fine line between being truthful and spreading false information. It's on the topic of the unchecked power of large websites on individuals. Because of this, the media has taken a hard look in the mirror and discovered that it was far worse than they had anticipated. The president supposedly had the authority to do that, according to these White House officials and the White House counsel's office. He has the power to dismiss anyone from the executive branch since he is the head of that branch. Another case that reached the highest court in 2020 was Scala Law LLC versus the Customs Bureau Protection. That case warrants your attention, in my opinion. To pass its laws, the White House has relied on that. The decision to air or cancel the show now rests with ABC. No one ever imagined they'd find themselves in such a horrible predicament. A climate of paralysis has set in at the network's headquarters. Several insider leaks have proven that ABC's top brass are constantly in emergency meetings, deliberating over a decision that might alter their public image. A trio of awful options are presented to them, according to those who know them. Get Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny out of there for a little. You can demonstrate your responsibility without damaging the brand with this low-level PR move. However, there are many who believe it comes far too late. Secondly, put a private and painful end to both cases. That involves hastily signing large checks, pressuring individuals to publicly apologize, retracting statements made during live broadcasts, and attempting to stem the flow of sponsors. It could not only be ineffective, but also costly and humiliating. Third, cancel the time slot, turn off The View entirely, and rename it. According to some sources, this is being considered as a viable option due to the potential irreparable damage. It is known as the nuclear option. We're in no rush, since there is an ongoing bleeding. Supposedly, sponsors are pulling deals at the crack of dawn, sending ABC's ad sales team into free fall. The day following the filing of the second case, a seven-figure deal reportedly fell through, according to an insider. People no longer trust these brands, and society views them differently, as one major brand declared. We will not be associated with programming that is currently facing defamation litigation. Those who used to root for controversial opinions now want leaders to step down. Legal professionals are sounding the alarm that you could spend the next 5 years mired in litigation unless you take immediate action. There was a time when ABC thought it was immune to criticism and that talk shows were untouchable. However, as Karoline Leavitt recently demonstrated, even celebrities can fall, and there is a price to pay for responsibility. The question-asking part is now up to you. Has Karoline Leavitt once again altered the regulations? This is her second occurrence in the past month. Will conventional media finally let go now? Has to air its last episode before The View on ABC. All of the network speeds drop. Please share your opinions below. This is a much larger story than Karoline, so I will be closely monitoring it. It's about all the people who have ever felt ridiculed, disregarded, or scolded by a media empire egotistical about itself. Now it's acting badly. The machine is glitching, breaking, and disintegrating. Karoline didn't merely retaliate, she did it with evidence, authority, and precision that no one had seen before. Everyone in this room is expected to do their part, even though I made a promise to speak the truth from this platform. We will not abide by the fact that some of the nation's most venerable news organizations have spread false information regarding the president and his family. If we determine that the information you are disseminating regarding the White House is untrue or incorrect, we will inform you. The View accomplished what? They rolled their eyes, laughed, and made fun of them. At this point, they're attempting to fix everything with PR spins and hastily concocted explanations, as if the storm will go away if they just change segments and shrug. However, Karoline, no, she isn't afraid. No news tours, interviews, or whining about how awful things are in store. She is choosing to remain silent in the face of the overwhelming evidence. A billion-dollar media conglomerate can be deposed twice by a single woman. A young conservative who lacks even a corporate bodyguard. How robust is the media's glass castle in light of this? Is it a reflection of the current power structure? This means that everyone, not just Karoline and Whoopi, should cherish this moment. Spectators quietly wonder if this marks the start of a media restart, as they observe in the background an all-new section where the truth finally takes a stand. In the midst of all this deceit, bullying, and elite-only media bubbles, the last thing you should do is click the like button. Get in on the action now to keep one step ahead of the stories they're trying to hide. Please forward this to anyone you know who continues to view The View as nothing more than entertaining background noise during the day. Despite its studio-lit facade, this show has obviously devolved into a legal bomb. Also, keep staring. This is now about more than just one case. This is a struggle for narrative control. Where does Karoline Leavitt stand? Holding the line and altering the narrative are two of her many roles. Hold on tight and roll immediately. The next shocking news will shock The View. They are about to get a rude awakening if they believed this was finished.